Is this where it? Okay. Can you all hear me? Good. All right. So as I was walking in, I heard a lot of people commenting on how tall I am. I'm pretty tall, huh? So when I used to go do school visits, all of the little kindergartners would often ask, how tall are you? Are you taller than a tree? Are you as tall as a giraffe? Are you as tall as Giannis is? So I thought for a fun little warm-up activity today, I'm here to talk about dumplings from around the world, but we're going to compare how tall I am to different animals around the world. So you got a little preview. Llama, I'm 6'2", so I have a few inches on a llama. I'm a little bit taller than a llama. But the next animal is a grizzly bear. Grizzly bear is about 9 feet tall. So they're taller than I am. If I raise my arm about the tip of my fingers, that's almost 9 feet. So they're really, really tall. And the last animal is a rhino. I'm actually the exact same height as a rhino. That's pretty cool, huh? I know. So next time you're at a zoo or reading a book about a rhino, you can remember that a rhino is about as tall as I am. So that was just our silly, fun kind of warm-up activity. But we're here to talk about being an author and my book, Our World of Dumplings. So this next slide is a picture of me on my first day of kindergarten when I was a little girl. And I wanted to, I'm the blonde one, and the one in the flower dress is my sister, Donna. She's a year younger than me, and she was gonna walk me to school that day. And I share this picture because I wanna talk a little bit about the type of student I was growing up. So I have always loved reading and picture books in particular. My mom used to take me and my siblings to the library, and we'd walk with a big tote bag and we'd fill it up with picture books. I've always loved them. And I remember sitting in my classroom, my second grade teacher in particular, Mrs. Westfall, and she would always read us a book every single day. And I loved sitting there and listening to stories. But growing up, I was a really bad speller. That was something I really struggled with. And because I was bad at spelling, I thought I wasn't a very good writer either. I didn't consider that to be one of my strengths. So even though I loved reading picture books, I didn't think I was a very good writer for a long time. So fast forward a little bit, after college, I moved to an organic farm and I was a gardening educator. And I had groups of kids come out for field trips, and I would go into schools also to talk about where our food comes from and how it grows. And when I would come into a school, I wouldn't have my garden with me to teach kids. So I'd bring in picture books, and I would use a picture book to talk about everything from composting to how our food grows, the different parts of a plant, where food comes from around the world. And I really realized that picture books are such a powerful tool to teach kids so many different things. So it was around that time that I thought, you know what, I love reading picture books and they're a really awesome thing to share with kids. Why don't I write my own picture book? But the problem was I didn't know what to do or where to begin. So I Googled, how do you become a picture book author? And I learned that there was 3 things I needed to do. The first was I needed to improve my stories. A story before it becomes a book is called a manuscript, where it's just all the words. So I had to work on my manuscripts. And I would wake up really early, like 5 o'clock in the morning before the sun was up and my kids got up to work on my stories. And finally, when they got to a place where I thought they were good enough to share, I had to find what's called a literary agent. So sports stars like Giannis, they have agents who help them negotiate contracts and when they're joining a new team. Authors also have agents that help them find publishers. So after I found an agent, then we needed to find a publisher. And this took a really long time. Months went by and I started to have some doubts. I thought, you know what, maybe my stories aren't very good. Maybe I'm not a good writer. Maybe they found some spelling errors in my stories. But I waited and I was patient. And finally, we got a call from Little Bee Books that they wanted to publish my stories. So that was really exciting. And I share this with you all because sometimes our dreams take a really long time to accomplish. So there may be something that you're working really hard on that you have as a goal, and you should keep going, even if you feel like you're going to give up, because you may be like me and go from a kid who wasn't a very good speller to becoming a book author and speaking to a bunch of kids in the school one day. So keep following your dreams. So now it's time to talk about the book a little bit. So I'll have you advance, please. My family is Polish, and growing up, we used to make, and still do, pierogi. That was the dumpling that our family eats. And this is a picture of me and my daughter and my cousin and my sister, and we make pierogi for Christmas usually. We'll make about 200 to 300 by hand, and then we'll serve them to all of our family on Christmas Eve. And I always loved doing this. And then as I got older, I realized that there are so many dumplings from around the world. Almost every culture has their own variety of a dumpling. And I thought this was awesome that people all around the world, and even within the same community, yeah, we can clap for that. Oh, dumplings. I thought it was awesome that this was something that people all had in common, was the shared love for dumplings. And I thought this would make a really cool idea for a picture book to teach kids not only about dumplings from around the world, but how this is something that people all have in common, is that even if someone from your own community or from a different part of the world, you have a shared love of dumplings. So dumplings can be very different in what's inside of them or how they're made. And so we came up with this definition of a dumpling for the book that I wanted to share with you. Dumplings can be sweet or savory, stuffed or rolled, fried, baked, boiled, or steamed. All dumplings, though, are a labor of love. Often requiring multi-step processes, dumplings are best prepared and shared in the company of family and friends. Next slide, please. This I found was a really cool map of dumplings from around the world. I thought it was a great visual to show that almost anywhere in the globe, there is a type of dumpling that's made there. And there are even more dumplings than this out there in the world. There's just so many different types. So I thought this was really cool to share. All right, so now it's time for the story. So 2 things to note before I begin. If you have any questions, save them here in your head. I'll come to questions after the story. And as I'm reading, there's a few parts of the book that talk about how the dumplings are made. And I'm going to need your help with some of the actions to make the dumplings. We might need to pinch a dumpling closed so the fillings don't fall out. Can you help me pinch a dumpling closed? We might need to roll a dough ball between our hands. There's a couple other motions that I'll teach you as we go along too. All right, are we ready? Yeah. Sylvia, wake up, mom calls. My eyes snap open and I jump out of bed to get ready. No time to snooze. Today's dumpling day. Dumplings are my favorite food, so I'm excited to make a bunch of different kinds with my friends today. Scents swirl in the stairwell of our building. I can smell garlic sauteing, ginger simmering, tomato stewing on a stovetop. 2 steps at a time, I follow the scents all the way down the stairs to Prisha's apartment on the ground floor. Before I can knock, she opens the door and waves me in. Prisha's mom shows us how to make the best Indian momos. We fill each dumpling with a mixture of vegetables and spices and pleat the dough at the top. Can we pleat the dough and kind of pinch it closed? Yeah. We talk about our party plans as we whip up a chutney to dip the momos in. After we finish steaming all the momos, the scent of fried dough leads Prisha and me out of her apartment and up the stairs to the Fraser's home. Maura answers the door. Her family is frying up Jamaican Johnny cakes. As we roll each dough ball between our hands, can we roll them out? Maura tells us that she eats these sweet dumplings for breakfast or lunch. Our mouths water as we watch the Johnny cakes dance in the hot oil. The smell of chicken broth guides Prisha, Maura, and me down the hall to Aaron's apartment. He's left the door open and we let ourselves in. Aaron shows us how to make his Jewish bubby's krepla. Prisha and I fold the dumplings into triangles with 3 points. Can we shape a triangle dumpling? Maura stirs the rich broth that will plop the krepla in before eating. After we finish preparing the krepla, we all hurry toward the aroma of ground pork sauteing in Cindy's apartment. A sign reading "Jiaozi Zone" greets us at the door. We find Cindy in the kitchen. Her family makes amazing Chinese jiaozi. Cindy and her mom already made the dumpling dough from scratch, so we help to fill each jiaozi with a mixture of pork, cabbage, and spices. Make sure to pinch each one tight, otherwise the filling will fall out, Cindy reminds us. Can we pinch those jiaozi closed? Good job. After boiling the jiaozi, a trail of fragrant spices leads us to Nico's apartment. His family is busy making juicy, plump Georgian khinkali when we arrive. Nico shows us how to fill the khinkali with meat and spices before twisting the dough at the top. The dumplings are hot inside, so Nico tells us to slurp the juice out before biting them. Can I hear everybody slurp? Ooh, that was a good slurp. We thank Nico's family and follow our noses to the Alva family's apartment on the next floor. Carmen smiles as we all pile into her kitchen. Her grandparents teach us how to make the best Peruvian empanadas filled with beef, hard-boiled eggs, and olives. I sneak extra olives into the ones that I make. After baking our empanadas, we kiss Abuelita Alva goodbye and file out. 3 more stops. Brian and the sweet scent of cinnamon are waiting for us at the top of the stairs. Brian's dad makes the best South African sousklakis. He and his dad show us how to drop the dumpling dough in boiling water to cook. We sprinkle cinnamon, sugar, and drizzle a sweet sauce over the sousklakis before taste testing. Can we sprinkle some cinnamon sugar? Good job. Our legs can barely carry us up the flight of stairs to the Rossi family apartment. The smell of tomato sauce keeps us going. Marco greets us at the door with a smile. Finally, he says. Marco's parents teach us how to make delicious, fluffy Italian gnocchi. Marco teaches us how to roll the dough into a long rope. Can we roll the dough out into a long rope? After cutting it into pieces, we make little ridges on the gnocchi with a fork. This helps the sauce cling to the dumplings, Marco says. Finally, we make our way back to my apartment. The air in the hallway is filled with the perfume of melted butter. Busha has been sauteing onions, waiting for our arrival. Take it from here, Sylvia, your dough needs rolling. Our family makes the best Polish pierogi, if I do say so myself. I show my friends how to fill each dumpling with mushrooms and sauerkraut. All our hands make the job of filling, crimping, and boiling the pierogi go a lot faster. We cheer as we lift the last pierogi from the pot. Can I get a woo? We race to the roof to set up for our party. Brian and Maura unfold tables. Aaron and Cindy arrange our dumplings in bowls and on trays. Marco and Prisha hang a banner that says, "Our world of dumplings." All our neighbors from the building join us and finish helping set up. Scents from around the world swirl in the air as we fill our plates with momos, Johnny cakes, krapla, jiaozi, khinkali, empanadas, sousklakis, gnocchi, and pierogi. Everyone shares stories about how they learned to make their family's recipe. And to me, the aroma of all our dumplings mixing together smells like home. My heart feels as full as my stomach. The end. Thank you, everybody. So our illustrator for the book, Sarah, who we'll learn a little bit more about in a few minutes, made this beautiful spread in the end of the book that has each of the children holding their family's dumpling, and it's teaching us how to pronounce each of the dumplings. So I thought we could practice together. So next time you read the book, you'll know how to say each of the dumplings. So I'll say the word first, and then you can repeat after me, all right? So we got empanada. Johnny cakes. Jiaozi. Khinkali. Krapla. Pierogi. Oh, gnocchi. Sousklakis. Momos. And pierogi. You guys did a great job. Have you been practicing those? I think you do wonderful. So we can skip this one. There, as you guys saw on the map, there are so many dumplings from around the world. We couldn't fit them into one story. So in the back of the book, there's some more dumplings that we're not going to go over each one today, but I just wanted to point these out that you can learn some more about these dumplings later too. So this is our illustrator for the book, Sarah Jung. So it's pretty cool how you make a picture book. Sometimes there's talented people who are the writer and the illustrator, but I am not a very good artist. So how it worked is I shared my words with the publisher and they picked the illustrator and they chose Sarah to do all the pictures for the book. And now Sarah and I have never met before. And she just took my words and used her imagination to come up with all of the pictures. So I think that's really cool how someone can just read words in black and white on a piece of paper and think about what each of the children looked like, what was in their apartments, and kind of imagine the whole story. And now Sarah has written one other picture book before. It's called When Father Comes Home, and she does a bunch of different art projects too. I thought this piece of her artwork was pretty cool, as some kids and animals all in a school together. And now I got to see her artwork kind of transform throughout the process of creating the book. The picture on the left is one of her initial sketches when she was just kind of imagining what the cover of the book would look like, what each of the kids was going to look like. So it's just kind of like in pencil or pen and very light in the detail. And then you can see on the right-hand side how alive that picture is with color and all the details and the kids' expressions. Can you kind of see how she went from the first kind of imagining it and sketching it out and then added in all that detail to make the beautiful final cover? It's pretty tricky. So now we have, I think there's maybe a slide for this. We'll save some time for questions. I'll take we'll start maybe like 15 or so questions because then I want to save time for our activity too. So I'll call on folks who are sitting nicely with their arms raised. Let's see, right here on the orange shirt. You forgot, that's all right, I'll come back to you. Right here. Great question. How long did it take me to make this book? So it took me about a year or so to write it, and then like another year or so to kind of go through edits and make sure I had it where it was at. And then after I sold it to the publisher, it took them 2 years to find an illustrator for her to do all the illustrations and drawings. So start to finish, this was about a 5-year project for me. So a long time to make. Right back here in the stripes, the white shirt with the stripes. Could you say that one more time? Was it hard? It definitely was hard. I had to make some time in my busy schedule to work on this, but since it was like a really important goal to me, it was fun, but also was hard to do. Sometimes the dreams that you have that are the biggest are hard and fun at the same time. Right here in the red. How many books have I made? Yeah. Great question. So this is my first story that has been published and is a physical book, but I have lots of different manuscripts or stories that I've been working on that have not been published yet. So maybe one day I'll have another one that I can come read to you. Right here in the white.
Are you going to make a new one?
Am I going to make a new one? I hope so. I just finished a story about a grumpy, sleepy walrus who is a crossing guard for his Arctic neighborhood. And one day there is a big disaster that happens and they have to work together to come up with a solution. So there's always endless possibilities and ideas for books. Right here in the red. To finish one book? Great question. It totally depends. Some stories come really quickly and I'll sit and I'll crank it all out. And some it takes a little bit of time. I'll write a little, I'll go away for a bit, take a walk, or pick it back up a week or so later when I get a new idea on what should happen next in the story. So it kind of depends, but good question. Right here in the blue with the black hat. Did I think I was not going to make it? That's a great question. I did. I thought maybe this is one of those things that I had as a goal, but maybe wasn't going to happen, because sometimes that happens in life. But I kept trying and I kept working at it, and eventually it did happen. It's a great question. Right here in the pink.
Did your hands hurt?
Did my hands hurt? Sometimes they do. When I've been typing for a long time, my hands will get kind of crampy. So I got to go shake them out and loosen them up before I keep working. Right here in the cat ears.
And why did you choose dumplings?
Why did I choose dumplings? Great question. I love to eat dumplings. I thought it was really cool that this was something that cultures around the world had in common. That would be a neat way to teach kids about food from around the world. And I thought it would make a great topic for a picture book. So Lots of different reasons. Way in the back in the gray. Yes. Why did I make the book? Kind of for the same reasons. I thought it would make a really cool topic to write about dumplings. Let's see in the blue. Did it take about a year? It took a little bit longer than that, closer to 5 years. In the red sweatshirt?
How many hours did you work on it normally in one day?
Because I have little kids at home, I usually only get to work on it for short amounts of time. So that's also why it took a long time to write. So I would start writing around like 5 a.m. and then I'd write till probably about like 6, doing edits and writing. And then they would wake up a little bit after that. So if I had all day, I could probably do a lot more, but because of the little kids, I had just a short amount of time in the day to work on it. Let's see, right here.
How did you make this?
How did I make this book? How did it kind of physically become a book, or how did I write it?
How did you write it?
How did I write it? Well, I did a lot of research for it too, because I know a lot about pierogies, but the other dumplings in the story, I had to learn a bit more. So I did a lot of reading, but I also went to my friends' houses and had asked them to make their family's dumplings with me. And so they could show me their recipe and I could hear their stories behind their family's dumplings too. So that was a really cool part of the research process. Great question. Right here.
Let's do make pie.
Do I make pie? Pie is my favorite food. That's why I laugh, because how did you know? I'm actually a pie eating champion. I've eaten a lot of pie in my life. I'll take an applause for that. Way in the back. Great question. Did I get to meet Sarah, the illustrator? I have not gotten to meet her. She lives in Baltimore, Maryland. So we've talked over email a lot. And maybe one day we'll get to do an author illustrator event together. Wouldn't that be cool? Where we can read the story and she can talk a little bit more about her art process. I'm hoping I'll get to do that one day. Right here. It is behind me over there. Right here. Uh-huh. How long did it take?
Yeah.
It took about 5 years to make the book, a long time. I did ask you already. I'm going to try to grab one more friend. Sorry about that. Let's see, who have I not called on right here?
When did you start liking dumplings?
When did I start liking dumplings? Great question. Well, we always ate pierogi growing up, but I didn't really think about it being a dumpling, which is something we always ate. But I think it was like in college probably, where I tried a new type of dumpling. I said, this is so good. And then I tried another one and I realized there are so many different types of dumplings out there. I've definitely have not tried all of the dumplings in that map that I showed you earlier, because there's so many.
Yeah.
That should be my new goal, huh? I should try to eat all of those dumplings.
Yeah, also be a dumpling eater champion.
I like that idea. Maybe I can be a champion dumpling eater. That would be a fun idea. Let's do 2 more questions and then we're going to save time for our activity in the white shirt here. Ooh, we'll find out in a few minutes. And I did tell you I was going to come back to you earlier. What was your question?
So, who wrote the final cover?
Who did the final cover? Sarah, the girl I showed you earlier. She did the final cover. And so she worked with the art team from the publisher, and they kind of decide what the font or how the letters should look, where to put our names, and all of the kind of details with the art in there. Great question. All right, we'll save questions. We'll see if we have time for more at the end, but I want to make sure we get our activity in, okay? So what we're going to do today, we are going to make our own giant pierogi together. And I'm going to have a few different volunteers come up to help me with the different tasks for making the pierogis. So I'll call on people who are seated with their hands in the air, and we'll bring a couple of different groups up. Right here in the pink and white stripes, unicorn squad. Let's see who I've not called on. You can come on up. And who have I not done? Right here. So we're gonna start. We gotta roll out our pierogi dough. Have you guys used a rolling pin before?
Yes.
So you can hold onto the two sides of the handles and we're gonna roll out our dough nice and flat. Who wants to go first? So we wanna get all those lumps and bumps out of our pierogi dough. You want it nice and thin, kind of just like making cookies. If it's too thick, they'll be too chewy after you cook them. So you want it nice and thin. Thank you. You can pass it to one of the friends behind you. Then roll out those edges. You don't want any thick, bumpy edges. That looks great. Thank you. And you can pass that on. Want a nice, thin pierogi dough. Good job. It does kind of look like a potato. You want it kind of this nice, round, oval shape. Thank you. Want to pass that one on? Thank you. I like your boots. Those are cool. Want it nice and thin. Thank you so much. All right, can I get a round of applause for our rolling pin helpers? You guys can go ahead and sit down. Thank you. So we are going to, there's so many different types of pierogies out there. You can fill them with lots of stuff. But we are going to make the same one as in the story, the mushroom and sauerkraut pierogi. So we're going to put some mushrooms in next. I'm going to need 4 volunteers to come help with that. How about right here? Right here, right here, and right there in the stripes. So we got some mushrooms. Why don't you take maybe like 3 or 4 each? I'll let you pass them around to your friends and we'll stick them on our dumpling or pierogi, kind of just like decorating a pizza. You want it all over the dough. Go ahead and you can put a couple on. They can be in the middle, up top, down low. You want a lot of fillings so everybody gets one in a bite, but you don't want too much that it's coming out of the sides when you bite into it. You guys can put it all over the middle too. Good job. Who likes mushrooms? Raise your hand. Are there some mushroom fans? I love mushrooms, but some people don't, and that's okay. I always tell my kids it's just important to try something because you never know what you're gonna like until you take a bite. Put them all over the middle. Good job. We got to get some down in the bottom too, all over the place. Great job. Let our friend here put a couple on. Thank you. All right, can I get a round of applause for our mushroom helpers? Thank you. You guys can go sit down. Thank you. You have got one more? Okay. Thank you. So next we're going to put our sauerkraut on. How about right here? You're sitting so nicely in the black shirt, in the pink, in the neon in the black sweatshirt, and right here in the, is that a T-Rex shirt? Yes. We're going to put some sauerkraut on next. So you can grab a couple pieces and we'll stick them in our dumpling here. Does anybody know what sauerkraut's made out of? How about I give you some clues and we'll guess together. So it's a vegetable. It's big and round. It has leaves. Cabbage, great. The other schools, I had to give some more clues. You guys are smart. You know your vegetables. Do people like sauerkraut? A few of us? I do. It's really good. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. That looks great. Thank you guys. Can I get a round of applause for our sauerkraut helpers? Go ahead and sit down. Thank you. So our last job is we are going to fold and pinch our pierogi closed before cooking it. So I'm going to call it 3 helpers. Right here, and right here in the gray. So what we're going to do when our friend comes up here, we're going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to have you guys work together to like lift it up and do a big reveal to the crowd. Let's actually lay it down so they don't all fall out. So why don't you fold it closed, and then we'll go pinch, pinch, pinch. They're going to work on folding it, and then we'll hold it up and we'll have a big reveal of what it looks like, okay? So let's go like that. Bring one side over. There we go. And now pinch the edges, and then we can say like 1, 2, 3, and we'll lift it up. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Here's our big pierogi. Do you guys want to take a big pretend bite? Is it good? Yeah, is it a yummy pierogi? You like it? Awesome. Thank you so much for your help. Can I get a round of applause for these guys? You guys can go ahead and sit back down. Thank you so much. So I actually have 2 questions I'm going to ask all of you before we wrap up. So Sarah, our illustrator, had drawn an animal into the story, something that I hadn't written into my words, but she thought this would be a fun animal to help the kids along on their dumpling making journey. Did anyone notice the animal that's in every picture in the book? No. Raise your hand if you think you know what it was. Let's see. I'm gonna call do you know what it was? Not an elephant. Good guess. Right there in the back. What animal followed the kids along on in the story? Not a dog. Close. In the back in the sweatshirt. A cat. A cat. Very good. There's a little gray kitty that was helping them out. There it is. And did you guys get a chance to see that little video I sent to you before I came? Okay, that's all right. I had asked a question to all of you in advance of me coming, and I'm curious to hear if anybody has dumplings that they make at home with their families. I would love to hear those. If there's a dumpling that you make at home with your family, I'd love to hear that today. What do you make at home? You forgot. That's all right. We'll come back to you. Was it Momo's? Oh, those are great. Those are delicious. What kind of dumplings do you make at home?
Momo's in a shape of like stalls.
Oh, cool. Very nice. What kind of dumplings do you make? What was that? Pies. Anybody else make a dumpling at home with their families? Pies. Okay. Right here. Do you know what you put in them? Oh, very cool. There's a really delicious like potato and cheese dumpling that I like to eat. Do you put like meat or vegetables in your dumplings you make at home? Yeah, both. Those are probably really good. And are you wearing tie-dye or is it blue? I'm trying to see. The sweatshirt. Yes. What kind of dumplings do you make at home? Can you say that a little louder? An apple one? An apple dumpling. Those are delicious too. And then a camo. What kind of dumpling do you make at home? Pierogies. One of my favorites. And right here, what kind of dumpling do you make at home? Could you say a little louder? With vegetables inside. There's so many delicious vegetable dumplings out there. What kind of dumplings do you make at home?
Empanadas.
Empanadas. What about you?
I make the ones with noodles and chicken with pie soup.
Ooh, the chicken like noodle soup dumplings. Those are really good. There's so many types of dumplings out there that you serve in a broth, like the krepla in the story. How about one more dumpling that people make at home? Let's see. You're sitting very nicely here. You make pies. I love to make pies too. Well, I think that's about all the time we have today, guys. Unfortunately, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun talking with you today. Teachers, is there a way that you would like to do book signing?
So friends, I am from the bookstore from Boswell Book Company, and we sponsored today's event. So if you ordered a book and you would like to stay behind and have your book signed by Ms. Decker, she will be happy to do that. So I'm going to read the names of the people who ordered books. Feel free to correct me if I say your name wrong. Raylan, Isabella, and Noah Talaska, Addison Scheifa, David Jimenez, Vinnie Ford, Andreas Quintero, Izzy Edwards, Henry Bauer, Ben Larson, Katarina, and your last name starts with the letter V. Mia Fleming, Roman Haggerty,